episode of 101 Sports. I'm Thomas Hale.
And I'm Ellie Whittington. Before we get into the show, Thomas and I are going to kick things off with the quick hitters. Last week, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said he would sue the NFL if Commissioner Roger Goodell's contract was extended. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding the current commissioner over the years, and many have wanted for a change. Does this represent the NFL owner's stance on Goodell, or is this just Jerry being Jerry?
Look, Ellie, Jerry's just going to be Jerry at all times, and no one can tell this guy what to do, and he especially doesn't want Roger Goodell telling him what to do, apparently.
He's the boss?
He's the boss. He's the boss right now.
I'm talking about Goodell is the boss, not
Goodell's
Jerry
the boss.
Jones.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what he's arguing about. So Jerry Jones is kind of top owner right now, and I think he is speaking on behalf of a good collective of the owners, not all of them, because if all of them had an issue, he'd be gone by now.
I totally disagree.
What do you think?
Because Jerry Jones is mad because Goodell is kind of attacking his team. If it wasn't something to do with the Cowboys, this whole Ezekiel Elliott thing, him being
He could
suspended.
be under the water.
If this was when Ray Rice was suspended, was he mad? No, because he didn't care because it's not his team. Jerry Jones cares about the Cowboys.
And I totally agree that owners think that once it's affecting their money, that's when these guys are getting upset.
I'll tell you something else. Jerry Jones did sue the NFL before, a few years ago for merchandising rights, and he won that lawsuit, which was kind of respected, and he did win that lawsuit. This isn't the first time he's done this, but I do think that he is in the wrong because he's not standing up for all 32 teams. He's standing up for the Cowboys.
In a way, he is, though, because he's having an issue with the contract extension.
Because of his player.
But before, it's because Goodell gets decided by 6 members. Now he wants the whole league to decide whether Goodell can keep his contract or not.
Well,
that's
he's
all
just
he
going to
wants.
continue to win.
All right. Shocking news hit the soccer world last night when Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup. This is the first time they've missed a World Cup since 1958. Italy is one of the premier soccer nations of the world. So, Ellie, what's the impact that this is going to have on Russia in the World Cup next year?
There's no impact.
No impact.
Because there's an impact
on
for
Italy.
There's an impact on Italy. There's an impact for Italy fans.
Okay.
For the World Cup,
Absolutely.
I don't think it's still not going to diminish
when the
U.S.
impact. Didn't make it, it affected U.S. fans, but you don't think that the rest of the world cares?
No. Not really, because unless you're an Italy fan, unless you're a U.S. fan,
and I do agree that you did touch right on the head, because now I'm seeing this as an opportunity for a lot of smaller teams to get an opportunity to make their way up. You see Iceland in the Euros. They made their way to the quarterfinals, I believe, and now they have an even better chance to make it far in the World Cup. That's huge.
Yeah, so I think it's great to see these smaller countries have this stage on a bigger platform. Is it bad for Italy? Yes.
Absolutely.
Does it, in that many years, and this is the first time? Yes, we see this in all of sports, teams that have continued to make the playoffs and then one time they don't.
With the amount of experienced players that the Italian team had, Barzagli, Chiellini, Gianluigi Buffon, one of the greatest goalkeepers in history, and you see just kind of this transition of power. These guys are leaving the world of soccer now, which is weird to see, and now you see new young teams coming up, like you got Belgium.
So are you okay with this?
I'm okay with it. I think it's about time for every team to kind of make their way in and out, and seeing a huge team like Italy getting knocked out, a lot of younger teams now, they can be like, maybe we can take that spot.
I just don't see a huge impact. So the World Cup is an exciting time, and I don't think that that's going to change.
Yeah, we won't miss Italy. We'll be all right.
Week 9 of the NFL looked more like WWE SmackDown than professional football. All in all, there were 3 separate fights and 5 players ejected from games. And others who should have been. Does the NFL need to start cracking down on players who fight?
So, I mean, I'm looking at this as kind of like hockey. When a fight breaks out, you get a little excited right at first, and you're like, ooh, let's see how this goes out. But then once they really start wailing on each other, you're kind of like, oh.
I think that for me, it's that the NFL has a rule book, and you can go and look at the rule book and what counts as should you be ejected, should you not.
Right.
These refs should have read the same rule book that all of us can read, and they need to be on the same line.
Yeah, and
so if you're going
touched on that exactly, is the consistency of the calls, I think. And especially the last weekend, we saw A.J. Green, Jalen Ramsey literally throwing blows on each other's helmets.
And
they get ejected, which is good. Mike Evans absolutely annihilates a Saints player on a dead play. 15-yard penalty. I
think that is totally wrong. Also, I think the NFL needs to be strict on this, because you have these players acting out, and he starts at a small level and then increases and increases and increases. And we've seen this kind of violence off the field. And saying that this is okay is not good. And let them celebrate in the end zone. Let them do that thing. I'm all for that. But when it comes to fighting each other, play the game of football.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a WWE game, you want to go watch fighting, that's fine.
My issue with
don't
that
go on
is,
a football
like,
field.
once again, the nature of football, it's such an aggressive game, and once guys are just on the line for hours and hours just beating on each other, there's going to come a point where they might want to smack around each other.
It's kind of a long game as it is, so don't take up time fighting each other. Let us watch football.
True. Very true. We need shorter games. Just a month into the NBA season, and already we have some strange flagrant foul calls. New rules were put in place that allows refs to call a flagrant foul on any contact they deem unnecessary. So, Ellie, are these new NBA rules too strict?
Yes.
Yeah?
Don't call these fouls. Another thing, fun fact about me, my first job was a referee.
Wow.
And they teach you, I was a soccer referee, they teach you in referee that if you're going to call, you have to decide at the beginning of the game. You're either going to call everything or you're not going to call anything at all.
That's good.
And I think that these are at a professional level, you need to let them play basketball.
Right, and like back 20 years ago, 90s basketball, 80s era basketball, all these things that they're calling as fouls now, you could do that all the time. Throw an elbow, no problem. Kind of give a little gut check, no problem. But now, refs are getting really picky about this kind of thing.
And I think this is more of a thing in college basketball. You need to be a little bit more strict, but in the
Yeah.
NBA, I think that it is more of a fun game, in my opinion.
Right.
Let them play. If you watch the Steph Curry foul, he was called flagrant.
that
Absolutely
mouthpiece.
not. He was shooting a layup,
Yeah.
and his arm flew and hit. Like, it's not a
Absolutely.
flagrant foul. It was not intentional.
And another thing with that is this, like, they give the referees so much room for interpretation for these things. And like you said, the refs should come together at the beginning to make that decision, but every ref is different. Every ref has a different opinion of what they think is right, what they think is wrong. And with that, like the NFL, no consistency, which is what people are getting upset over.
And I think that they obviously have had this training. They have earned their spot in these professional leagues.
Absolutely.
I totally respect NFL refs, NBA refs.
And I understand where
anyone,
they're
but-
trying to go is show an example for the younger audience that you shouldn't be fighting on the court, that kind of thing, as the NBA becomes a more
Well, they're
family-friendly
not
game.
fighting, it's a foul. And I just think, let them play. If it's a necessary foul, call it. Also, a long game, quit calling fouls.
Keep it going. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's Quick Hitters.
But don't go anywhere because our two FCS experts will be here to break down the playoff bracket heading into the final week of the regular season.